Maybe. Everything, my whole life kind of runs together right now.
Understandable.
Chasing more stuff from the second episode.
I remember when I said I was going to talk about witch talk, you were the first I will go down swinging to defend witch talk. I do not give a fuck.
You know why? It's because the principle of old people always think young people shit is stupid. And I'm like, I don't want to be that old person who thinks rock and roll is stupid and the devil and no, you have to stay hip or you become a fossil that everyone hates.
Yeah, I mean, those are your options, right? You can either one day wake up and be the guy going these kids today. Back in my day, we had the Japanese in camps. Or you can be the guy.
God.
Or you can be the person that actually embraces these things. But there's a fine line between it, right? Because no one wants to be the 80-year-old guy who's like, oh yeah, Cardi B.
Hello, fellow kids.
We were somewhere outside the CMN compound when the White Claw began to take effect. I remember saying something like, I don't know, I'm a little drunk. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Then suddenly there was a terrible roar all around us, and the room began to fill with what looked like strange internet people. And a voice screaming, holy Jesus, what are these goddamn animals?
This is CMN. Welcome to Chaos Magic News, the only media outlet purposely spreading lies about the moon landing. I'm your host, as always,
Standing Meerkat
Kennedy. Thank you. That is the best one I've had yet. As you've just heard, we have an absolutely amazing guest in our interview series today, and one that is probably the biggest influence on CMN, honestly.
My God.
Matt is the purveyor of chaostarot.com. Matt has a background that isn't exactly uncommon among people in this community. Matt started with the usual punk hobbies of skateboarding, art, and jiu-jitsu. And upon discovering the internet, became a coder. But Matt came to Chaos Magic relatively late in life compared to a lot of us, at 38 years old. And unlike most of us, has made huge strides in it. His main project now is the Trinary app, as well as the Android Dreams Tarot, the Chaos Magicians Tarot, and the second biggest Chaos Magic group on Facebook, as far as we're aware, the Chaos Magic Study Group. And even more things that you don't know about. More than anything, Matt is a huge friend of the show and probably the single most supportive person of the project before we got it off the ground. Matt, how are you, man?
I'm good.
Good.
Very good, because someone's been feeding me White Claws for the last 45 minutes, so I'm ready to fucking go.
Whoever was doing that.
Not me.
We thank them, and we thank them for the entire show. I hope you know this is probably going to be the most fun interview I've had yet, just because I actually have someone in the room with me for once.
You're overestimating how fun I am.
Don't let him fool you, folks. We've been here for like an hour and a half already, and I've had the most enjoyable night I've had in a while. I really needed this. You don't even know. First question we've been asking in every single one of our interviews.
Oh, my God.
I know. You ready for it?
I'm already in the line of fire.
Yep, I know. Get scared. Better have a good answer. Otherwise, feeding you right to the alligators.
Kick me right out. Interview's over, you dick.
Nah, fuck, get the hell out of here.
The question I got to ask you is, why should you care about Chaos Magic?
Me personally, or like a
why
PSA
should anyone?
for
Why should anyone care about Chaos Magic?
I've met a lot of chaos magicians in the short time I've been doing magic, and they've convinced me not everyone should care. I wish some of them should get the fuck out. But like in a general sense, it works. It seems to be like, why should you care about water if you're a fish? But not all fish know that they're in the water, kind of thing. So there's this hidden aspect of how our reality works, and if you don't understand how to do it, whether it's by chaos magic or some other kind of magic, if you don't understand how to influence it, you're just not going to have a good time. Just like if you're a monkey who doesn't know about trees or a fish who doesn't know about water, like that is how we navigate our reality. So you best learn to do it well.
That sounds a lot like that Crowley quote.
God damn it.
I know, right? You're like, fuck, I'm saying shit that Crowley said.
Even as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, fuck me.
You're always going to be doing magic. And if you're going to be doing magic, it's probably better that you do it well than do it poorly.
Now, see, I don't know if I agree with all that. Some people are like, go a little too hard on the everything is magic thing. Like, there's I don't know, somewhere in South Texas, there's a grandfather beating the shit out of his kid. That's not magic. He's just a dickhead.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely.
Everything's not magic.
Not everything is magic. Well, when we first met, I think, was really when I got on this big kick. In fact, I'll go ahead and tell the fair listeners, like the way Matt and I met was getting into an argument about magic.
Vicious argument.
Yeah, like
God damn that
violent,
SM Kennedy
angry,
guy.
fucking belligerent fucking shit. I was much more of an asshole back then, or at least I was much more of an asshole actively. It was right after I had my big epiphany and started reading Heidegger and all these fucking philosophy shit, and I was really big on Moby Dick. And I just got into this huge argument with him, and we ended up messaging afterwards, and it was cool. That's a cool person, so he kind of won me over. I was like, you know what? I get it. I still think you're wrong, but we can talk about this. I think what I want to lean into here is you came to magic really late. How did that work? Like, what really got you into magic from... I know you were a Christian, like most of us in the Western world are, and then agnostic, which I think that's sort of the phase that I think almost every magician has, that phase where you start out as some sort of religion or some sort of spiritual idea, and then you either lean real hard into being an atheist or at least an agnostic, and then you come to magic. But like, what made the transition for you? What got you to be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Especially, being like, I came to magic when I was like 20, maybe even like 19 or so. So like, 38. That's a little late in the game, supposedly.
Yeah. It surprised even me. I can't help but like laugh or joke on myself sometimes. It's like, okay, midlife crisis guy, fucking old man, suddenly a fucking internet wizard. So yeah.
It worked for Alan Moore, right? He decided one day, he's like, all right, I'm just a wizard. Fuck it.
Kind of for the same reason I never was full-blown atheist while you were doing the rundown of my pipeline there. But I was agnostic because I was always kind of leaned into science. I need proof. I need something that actually works, something that makes sense, that logically holds some water for me. Like saying there is a God is just as unknowable as saying there's not a God. So that's why I'm right up the middle with agnostic.
Right.
So when I found chaos magic, it just seemed on the face of it, even before I tried it, just reading about it the first time, I was like, this could actually work. Like, this actually makes sense. Every other explanation of magic I've heard was like, oh, you're going to put a quartz crystal in your clitoral hood and then the full moon. And this actually made sense because it was like, okay, you're going to do some psychology shit. You're going to shift your paradigm. You're going to believe it's going to work. And then the big one is like, they don't claim to have the answers, where they're just like, we don't know, it works. Maybe it's just because after you do a spell, you feel more confident and then you perform better. Or maybe it's this weird butterfly effect where you project this and then the people around you pick up on it or whatever. So it didn't rely on really stupid explanations like every kind of other magic that exists that I've ever read about.
Virtually everything.
There is at least some explanations in chaos magic that are like, yeah, that could be a thing. That makes sense.
There's so much room in chaos magic for any sort of explanation you can come up that works for you, right? As long as it makes sense in your mind, it's fine as far as chaos magic goes, because there's no dogma in it. There's no one telling you that you have to believe this, you have to believe that. In fact, the only thing that anyone's telling you have to believe in any sense is just that if you do something, something will happen. And that's easy to believe. And you don't even have to believe that it's like it'll happen in the way you think it does. But and more importantly, it's like, that should be belief informed by getting some kind of results to begin with.
That's the other big one, is
Right.
that it kind of follows the scientific method, which if you go talk to a scientist, they'll slap you for saying that your style of magic is very scientific, but just to fuck around and find out, kind of like, okay, journal your results, and then if it doesn't work, stop doing it. And that's the big one that separates chaos magic from a lot of other kinds of magics that seem like, you know, you're just beating your head against a brick wall. It's like, hey, if that doesn't work, stop fucking doing it. That's very scientific, is, hey, fail state this way.
Yeah.
This experiment gave you no result. Go try something else because your answer was wrong. Instead of the whole dogmatic, like, oh, this is the answer, period. You got to pray to the goddess on the full moon, the crystals. And
Oh, your ritual to Hecate didn't, give you the big titty goth girlfriend. You probably didn't do it right. Keep trying, man.
Right.
Just keep trying.
Yeah.
It'll happen eventually.
So the sense of experimentation and I don't know, I've just always been into that my whole life. What kid doesn't like to try something and then see if it works or not? Like, I used to take apart electronics and try to see how they work. And,
You were one of those kids
Yeah.
too. All right. I'm seeing a pattern here. Well, okay, I have two questions here. What was your first experience with doing magic? But what was your first experience like seeing magical people? Because you and I have met through the wonderful occult community that we have. And I'm sure we both have very, very interesting opinions about that community.
Oh, I don't know. There were a lot of firsts, so I'll kind of touch on them all. First, magical people you're talking about. My first experience with magical people was the kind of people that made me kind of make fun of it before. Like, I knew of some Wiccans in high school and shit, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. What you're doing is stupid. You based your life on a lie.
Right.
But-
You're like, you just picked the edgy version of Christianity. I get
Right.
it. It's fine.
And then later, the whole chaos magic turn came from, I was following the West Memphis 3 because I was like one missing kid away from being Damien Eccles. The way my relationship with my hometown was such that I could have very easily found myself in the same hot water. So I kind of felt for him a lot. So following him, of course, is how I got my first taste of magic that wasn't stupid, because he was talking about it in an interview. So I started Googling the stuff he was talking about because of the practicality. Everyone I've heard of talking about magic before that was like, and then maybe it works. You know, like you pray to God or you ask for Santa, and then maybe it works. But he was like, yeah, I had this real fucking problem, and then it worked. It wasn't this whole, you just gotta trust and have more faith. It was like, he had actual problems, and this was giving him actual solutions that were working. And I don't give a shit why they work, whether it is some, which kind of goes right into the chaos magic thing, is like, even if it's a placebo, good for him. You know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, who fucking cares?
Yeah. If it solves the problem, it solves the problem.
Especially thinking about like all the people. Think about how many people are on death row right now, praying to God, begging, doing anything they can. Well, not anything they can, because they could be doing magic, but doing, all the pleading and begging to any higher power, any authority to get out. And how many of them get out? We have
Not a lot.
I mean, I get it. A real scientist tell me like, oh, that is one specific example, and yeah, that you can't base a theory on that sort of thing. But still, I mean, Eccles he's the easiest and probably the most inspiring in a lot of ways example of someone taking magic and applying it and using it and actually, getting somewhere with it. I want to ask, how can I say this without sounding weird?
Sound weird.
Yeah, okay.
Please
cool.
sound weird.
Fine.
I'm begging you.
So, you got into coding when the internet started, and you got into magic through, seeing the West Memphis 3 fiasco going on. But you very quickly sort of blended the two together because, again, even before I actually knew who the hell you were, I knew chaostarot.com.
Nice.
And I was using it. I'm like, but fuck, I can make a sigil on the internet? Hell yes. What made you think, like, you know what? I'll be the person that makes a fucking, web app to do some magic and teach people about this shit?
There's probably multi-parts to that answer, but one of them is definitely that I taught myself the code by just making websites about whatever I happen to be into at the time. Because if you're not excited about it, you're not going to fucking do it. If you try to do a website about something you hate or is super boring to you, you're not going to learn to code that way. So it was always like, here's my page about punk rock, or here's my page about skateboarding, or here's my page about this fucking obscure RPG that's out of print that I play every day, or here's my, and you know, as soon as I started doing Magic, here's my page about Magic.
All right, quick sidebar. Was that, here's this RPG that's out of date. Is that the Street Fighter one?
Yes, how do you know?
Oh, yes!
How do you know?
Because we are homies and I take interest in my friends.
Yes, I have the premier website for a game nobody cares about.
I care about it. It makes you feel any better. The minute I found out that existed, which was only actually a couple months ago, but when I found it, I was like, this is fucking awesome. I have to find people that will play this with me.
It is one of the better RPGs, to be honest. If you just look at it on the surface, some of the art is really bad because I don't know what their budget was or whatever, and it kind of looks like a piece of shit. But if you actually get into the mechanics, I'm like, fuck, dude, I wish D&D had combat like this. I have sat there for 45 minutes trying to resolve one fucking round of D&D. And I'm like, why is combat so slow? They want to make an action-adventure game that makes me want to shoot myself in the head? Like, 45 minutes for one round is not action.
No, definitely not. Definitely. Okay. Again, in complete disinterest to anyone else listening to this, but I have to. Did you ever get into Fallout?
No.
Oh God, there's a tabletop Fallout RPG that is absolutely abysmal. It is one of the worst things I ever played in my life.
Nice.
But it was and that was all I was thinking while I was playing it. It was like, you know, Fallout is such a cool series, like as far as the lore and, you know, the actual games and stuff, and it's like, and you just crap this thing out. Like, that's the thing that makes me really appreciate the Street Fighter one, because it's like, wow, like how did you turn a fighting game into an RPG and it actually works? It's really well made. It's legitimately like,
I love it.
It's so good.
The combat is fucking genius. I'm like, why? I don't understand how there's a million other RPGs, and like, I don't even know why this isn't an RPG interview, but literally there's a million other RPGs, and none of them thought of the most obvious, perfect decision that Street Fighter did, because the slowest person goes first, and the faster person can then interrupt them at any point because they're faster.
I mean,
every other one, it's backwards.
Yep. I mean, I honestly, to bring it back to Magick and to keep the listeners from ranting as we continue to talk about this, because we will just talk about it for an hour and a half, and I will be like, all right, that's the interview. But because I
actually can segue that for you.
Oh, go for it.
Because you had asked me how I got where I got, and part of that too is how did I blend technology and like websites and Magic together is, you know, part one of the answer was I blend websites and whatever I'm into at the moment. Anyway, part two is I played a lot of Mage by White Wolf. And I played a virtual adept because I always thought hacker movies were cool in the early 90s and shit. So I identify as a virtual adept, which is a internet wizard. And so obviously Trinary is what they call their computers in that game.
Oh,
they call
that's where the name came from. I never knew.
They call it their trinary decks because binary understands, you know, black and white, yes and no. Trinary understands maybe and all this quantum in between, like reasoning logic stuff. So, yeah, it's called trinary because I'm a huge nerd.
Oh, man, I love that. Well, yeah, so another source of magic for you, and it's something because we've talked about it before. Ergo to all the listeners, I talk to Matt. It happens, so we have things we can talk about that I've referenced before.
It's so weird. Please tell him to stop.
I know. It's like 4 a.m. Like, hey, what are you doing?
What are you wearing?
No, but and we have a series of articles being written by the nameless co-host of the podcast with me on Zelazny, and that's something that influenced you too. Oh, there we go.
Dude.
Got the little clap.
Fucking Zelazny. I hope that didn't just ruin your audio.
Nah, I mean, I can
fucking
fix
squee for Roger Zelazny. You know how I got into Zelazny, by the way, while we're on the subject? There's an Amber RPG. Which I played for years before I even read the goddamn book.
Really?
Yes. So a lot of the story I learned was right next to this fucking stats table for the characters and their sheets and stuff. So that's fun. Just gets nerdier as we go deeper.
No, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, because as someone that's I'm not very influenced in my magic by fiction. Because
Ooh, boy, I am.
That's what I was going to say. That I find it really, especially because again, my cohort is incredibly fiction based. Like
You should see the list of articles I haven't written yet. It's like Encanto, Cobra Kai shadow work.
Man.
Oh God. Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what is it about Zelazny specifically that? Well, I mean, other than the fact that you're like, well, this is a badass RPG, and I want to throw a fireball, but. What is it about Zelazny that actually attracted you?
It's very unique magic style, and it's very imagination driven, where, like, to move to a different reality, I don't think they called this in the books, but what we would call it was he's like jumping to a different timeline or jumping to a different multiverse. They do this thing where they just go on a walk. And then they'll change one thing as they go along. They're like, okay, well, when I get around this corner, I'm going to see a blue bird. And then that's how they slowly shift, from their reality where there wasn't a blue bird to the reality where there was a blue bird, which is like one of many, many, many jumps that gets them finally, eventually where they're going. But that in itself, I've always had this rich internal, I would say, I'm like fantasia as opposed to aphantasia. I've had this rich internal life with all this imagination stuff going on constantly and these very detailed visualizations and stuff. So that super hit home with me. So it's like, oh, you just think about what you want. So that kind of primed me later for sigils and everything, chaos magic, where your intention is everything and you just put it out there from deep in your subconscious and your imagination and make something happen.
Yeah, that's fucking amazing.
But that's like such a mental journey. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like guided meditation that's really happening instead of just, I don't know. So much different from like your D&D where it's like, oh, I shoot a fireball out of my finger. It's so much more interesting to deal with what you can dream up in your head, in your imagination to change or be different than just shooting a lightning bolt out of your ass.
Well, I mean, see, I think there's a really interesting kind of parallel there, right? There's, because I feel like most people that get into magic don't get into it necessarily to just like, like I said, throw a fucking fireball. I feel like most of us are at least, and anyone that got into magic on the idea of like, oh, I'm going to be able to have like super massive, I'm going to shoot a Kamehameha wave or some shit like that, didn't get past like live action role playing at the fucking, park. You just don't. You didn't get to see that, but he did the rock, paper, scissors thing. So there you go.
I've LARPed.
Have you?
I'm not ashamed to admit it.
That's beautiful.
I'm a little ashamed.
Little shame. It's okay. I mean, there's a healthy amount of shame we should all go through with our everyday lives.
True.
But I feel like most of us didn't get into it for that sort of thing. Most of us got into it for probably very material reasons. It's like I wanted something. I mean, I can't even say what. Like I suppose I'm maybe not different, but I'm slightly different because what I remember very vividly, the first like real magic thing I attempted was a Mars invocation after reading Liber Null, because there's a section in there that says this is how you invoke Mars, or this is how you invoke Horus, and you do all this sort of things, and I was just like, fuck it, let's see what happens. And I turned my little fucking home studio room that was my brother's bedroom.
Yeah.
I got a one of those red light bulbs, and I got a fucking sword that my buddy had given me, and I made a fucking image on a piece of paper and all that kind of shit, and I just did it. And I remember walking out of there being like, I could fucking kill somebody. This is amazing. I am a god. And there was no reason that I did it other than just to see if it worked.
That was my next question. I was like, who did you need to Mars? Who did you wrong? Who hurt you?
No, yeah, like I said, there wasn't even, and that was the problem, because afterwards, like, I was like, I have all this fucking energy, and I had nothing to do with it. I went to my backyard and swung the sword around for like 20 minutes. I'm a fucking badass.
Now we're back to LARP.
Yeah, exactly. I was getting really into the idea of like, man, I'm gonna go to the local fucking LARP event, and I'm gonna really just fuck someone up. They're gonna come with their styrofoam sword, and I'm gonna gotcha. But no, and I think it's because I had come from it after hearing people like Robert Anton Wilson and Alan Watts and Terrence McKenna, where it was a lot more consciousness altering sort of things than necessarily magic. But after that, I got really into like, well, what can I do? What can I manifest in the world with this sort of stuff? And I don't even remember where I was going with this now. But
Isn't that fun?
I know, right?
That means we're doing it right.
Yeah, exactly. But but I think it's, most of us have a sort of desire to either understand what's actually going on in our internal landscape, if you will. And I think that's what lends us so easily to the psych model of magic. And I think that's sort of the pipeline towards it, right?
That's because psych model of magic is the best.
Oh, God.
This
was the
the
argument,
gauntlet
people.
has been thrown down.
Yeah.
Well, see, I mean, and that's the big breakdown between me and Matt. Because Matt is incredibly willing to be like, this is all psychological sort of phenomena going on.
Which, to be fair, I gotta put it out there. Most people misunderstand psych, in my opinion. A lot of people, when they think psych, they think you're just fooling yourself. You're just lying to yourself.
Right.
But I believe the way I have read about psych and learned about psych, you can still get real results. It's not just fooling yourself magic. It's not just placebo magic.
Right. And that's that's what keeps me and you on the same page, I think, more than anything. But what I think it is that we have very different ideas about the psyche more than anything. And you know what? I'll ask it, and if you want me to cut this out afterwards, feel free to. But you're a neurodivergent.
Yeah.
You're not.
You don't have to cut that out.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I'm loud and proud.
Okay, cool.
3 days in.
Right, you recently got your diagnosis. And that's part of what's going on here. We're celebrating that because we're incredibly
Crazy
happy
shit.
for him on this. yeah, shit. You're in the DSM-5 now. Way to go, buddy. Yeah, but so just having, again, being neurodivergent, living in a world with, ostensibly most people have a very different sort of brain phenomena going on with you. If you had to define the psyche, what would you say it is?
The psyche?
Yeah.
I don't know. If you could just keep short and sweet, if you could steal from me my body, that's what would be left.
Oh, okay. See, and that's my issue, because I think if you take the body from somebody, you don't have anything left. And I don't mean that in like a materialist sense, but to explain it, I have to rant about Heidegger, and that will just turn so many people off.
Well, I think that's the difference between literal and figurative. Like, figuratively, that would be a way to describe the psyche. But literally, if you believe it resides in the brain and you just die, then...
Right. Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you there.
It's like negative space thing.
Right, okay. So...
I'm going to go get another drink, but I can hear you.
Actually, no, because I got to do this.
Okay.
awesome. This is the first interview.
Leave this whole pause in.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm talking so goddamn long, like a blowhard. Blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about D&D.
I fucking love it. I don't. That's the thing about this. Even if people are like, this interview went on way too long, and you guys said way too much about stuff that wasn't even related to magic, I'm like, I don't care. I had fun with it.
Right? This is my podcast.
I mean, exactly.
Since we got onto that sidetrack real quick, let's go back to formative experiences with magic. What was the first thing you actually did magically?
The first thing I did on purpose, knowing it was magic, because you know the nature of it, you might have accidentally done something you weren't even trying. So when I started reading, I went from, okay, Damien Eccles said something cool, to I want to Google that, to I think it was banishing ritual was the word he said that helped him.
Right.
And then I somehow immediately found Liber Null, even though he's a high magician and not necessarily strictly a chaos magician.
Yeah, he's a Thelemite from what I remember.
Yeah, so I accidentally found chaos magic while Googling something Damien Eccles said. So then it started with this whole, be motionless for 45 minutes and then proceed to being boring for 30 minutes and then not moving your eyes for 5 minutes. And so I was going through all that, and I'm like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to really do it, which is the reason I don't enjoy weed, because I'm always like, here's an experiment. Let me smoke way too fucking much of it. So I was like, let's do way too fucking much of it. So I spent like 9 months doing the worst thing you've ever found in chaos magic, which is the experiments at the beginning of Liber Null. I'm like, I'm going to do a firm foundation to build upon.
Holy fuck.
So I spent almost a fucking year doing that fucking, pay attention to your breathing. Like,
I gotta say, like, I think you were probably the fucking textbook example about why you need to do that shit. Because you're one of the more successful magicians I actually know.
It actually
and
worked.
You actually did the fucking preliminary shit.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are like, this is bullshit. I'm bored. I'm gonna go fucking just jerk off on a sigil for 75 hours.
And they will literally laugh at you like they're the fucking genius.
Right.
They're like, it took you fucking 6 months to do LBRP. And I'm like, to do it right? Like, have you fully envisioned every single part of the experience of shooting up into the cosmos in the Kabbalistic cross? Like, I don't think you have. If you're telling me, ha ha ha, noob, you could learn that in 30 minutes.
Right. That's the thing I think.
Do it right.
More than anything, I think that's the thing that people forget about when they get, especially when you've been doing it for a long time. And when I say doing it for a long time, I mean doing it fucking wrong for a long fucking time. This is the episode where my bile for the chaos magic community comes out, right? Because, oh my fucking God, more than anything, I hate these people because even the shit they claim to believe and do is complete and utter bullshit 90% of the time. Most of these, I talked about this with Ben, but what most chaos magicians are, as far as I can tell, are fucking disaster magicians. They do magic when shit is really bad in their lives and shits are fucked up, and they feel really great about themselves for being like, oh, I magicked up $500 for the rent. Ooh, I'm such a great magician. I'm like, motherfucker, your life is in shambles.
Right? You were $500 away from death.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, again, I don't want to, judge people. Like, everyone knows my beliefs as far as politics. I'm an incredibly hardcore goddamn leftist, People will call me goddamn tanky at some points in what the kind of shit I say. But, so I get it. Capitalism's a horrible, horrible system, and it fucks over a lot of people all the fucking time.
Yes.
But that being said, we're just talking about as far as what you're doing magically. And what most of these people do is they have lives that are essentially just bullshit materialist lives where they don't do anything.
I know, me too.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be quiet over here with it.
It's fine. I'll put one in as a joke, and then we'll edit out the rest of them.
Put one in and edit it into the rest of them.
Now I have to leave that one as the one because otherwise people won't gonna laugh at the joke.
The book we're talking about.
No, but like, these people, for the most part, they have these kind of really bullshit, secular, materialist kind of lives where
Which comes from not doing it right to begin with.
Exactly.
It's a fucking circle.
is the colossal Ouroboros of doing bad magic that gives you a nice coping mechanism for the horror of your normal day-to-day life.
Yes.
And when you continue to do it badly and you get the one win out of a billion fucking losses.
And then you think you're a great goddamn magician. You think you're this amazing fucking wizard with control over the fucking world.
Ooh,
You
don't
think
get me
you're-
started on these people.
No, please.
Like you're supposed to convince yourself so you can get results, not convince yourself that you got results.
Right.
Yeah, like I feel like most people completely gloss over all of the preliminary practices. And then they do the fun stuff. To connect this back to what we were talking about before, it's fucking LARPing. It's fucking LARPing. It's spending time doing magic just, as theater, as, just fun times.
Which can come into play. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea that, like, you're not supposed to LARP a little.
Oh, well,
That's supposed to be part of it.
But it's part of it.
Yeah.
Not the entire fucking thing.
Yeah. We were about to offend everyone who does chaos magic.
Well, yeah, and we were going to offend all the LARPers more, and I'm more worried about them. Because the LARPers will show up with their foam swords and kick my fucking door in. The Chaos Magicians will just convince themselves that they did something good and I cursed them.
That's why the LARPers kicked his door in.
So as far as the first practice that you did, you did the foundational work. What was the first big experience you had that it was like, holy shit, this shit works?
So the big experience was I wasn't even ready yet. I was like, I still need to do more motionless and I need to breathe more and do the practice. So 9 months in, I was ready to go a year in before I did my first sigil or whatever. But the same thing that gets everyone, desperation.
Yep.
I had a situation I really fucking needed a result on. So I was like, even though I have been motionless for a mere 9 months, when I feel like I need to be motionless even more would help me. I'm going to go ahead and do this sigil because I really fucking could use some help here. And it worked like nobody's fucking business. So the step one was I read about it and it made logical sense. Step two was seeing the results. And then what more proof do you need? I don't care if it only worked because I'm, if it works because I can control the universe, great. If it works because I'm lying to myself and that makes me get what I want, great. If it works because who cares as long as it works?
Who cares about the mechanism?
Yeah.
That's the ultimate thing of chaos magic, obviously. But
Which is kind of fun because a lot of people come to chaos magic through I've been practicing this for years, Golden Dawn, and then I found chaos, or I've been practicing Wicca for years. I am a purist I found chaos magic first. So I don't know, for whatever that's worth, that might make me a little unique in that regard.
Right. No,
That's my basis.
yeah, well, I mean, because I came to chaos magic from, again, people like Robert Anton Wilson, and Robert Anton Wilson already threw me onto Crowley and shit like that. Full disclosure, everyone knows I'm a Thelemite, but not.
How dare you?
I know, right?
I didn't know you were
how
a
dare
Thelemite.
Oh God, I know.
From Galaxy Quest?
Oh God, this is the best interview ever because we got a Galaxy Quest reference. I can't. We have nowhere to go but down from here. Shit. I was more of a Thelemite in a philosophical sense, I guess, because I didn't really believe in magic like that, but it was just the the philosophy as I understood it behind it made a whole lot of sense to me. I was a hardcore libertarian at one point in my life, so you know, that's sort of the line, you know. It's like I was really into Ayn Rand in like the worst kind of way. I know, right? Well,
Learning so much about you right now.
I know, right? And you're like, oh shit, fucking
Right.
Christ, I need to get out of here
Is this
immediately.
an Ayn Rand podcast?
Well, I mean, you know, but yeah. By the way, when I say I was into Ayn Rand, I mean I was into Ayn Rand when I was like 14. When you should be into Ayn Rand because you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you're 14. For the record, I love you.
Yeah, everything, the government bad and everything's just, you know, if people can just do what they want, everything will be fine.
I mean, she was right about government bad.
Well, I mean, yeah, government's bad, but not because of what Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand's problem with the government was like, man, people have like social safety nets. Fuck.
Fuck that.
You're just gonna make them all victims.
To just die. That's going to be the quote people quote me.
That's gonna be the quote.
That's what people are going to quote me on.
That's
People should just die, like Ayn Rand said.
When I put the episode up, that's gonna be the quote. It's gonna be like, it's gonna say fucking Matt from chaotes.com. Just die.
Oh God, yeah, but I mean, I was really into it from the standpoint of like, you know, I thought the law, you know, do what thou wilt should be the whole law was like, oh, this is this really fucking radical idea.
How much does it piss you? I'm sorry to interrupt
go
you,
ahead.
but like, as a Thermian, how much does it piss you off the way people misinterpret that constantly?
Okay,
I have to know.
this is my big problem, right? I'm the only one that understands the lema properly.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone else says.
Yeah.
Lon Milo doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm the only one that's got it. I wouldn't even say it's a different view than a whole lot of people, but it's just a view that I think makes sense. Because if you read all the shit that Crowley wrote, it's the only thing that I can come up with that actually makes any kind of logical sense. But, you know, like, the two, I even talked about it in the Ben interview, like, the three camps that people fall into with the Lema are the anti-Crowley camp, the pro-Crowley camp, and the I am Crowley camp.
And I guess with my last statement, I've turned into the I am Crowley camp, but...
So I know where you store your magic.
Okay. The point I was getting at with all of this rigmarole was I already had sort of an understanding of ceremonial magic before I came to chaos magic. And that's probably why the first thing I did was like a bigger ceremonial type ritual to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty common with chaos magicians it's Gordon White has a quote about how chaos magic's like a big airport and that most people, they go there, they stay there for a while, but they don't stay there. And
Gordon White's an idiot. No. I don't even think that. That's just controversial quote to hype your show.
Oh, God.
Gordon White volunteered to be in my deck. Did you know that?
no, did he?
Right?
Well, fucking...
And then strategically chose to fucking not make any progress on that over the last 4 years.
Fuck what we were just talking about. Let's just go right to the tarot deck. What actually made you want to make the fucking deck to begin with?
Oh,
Because-
see, this is great because what made me want to do it and what made me not want to do it are the same thing. I got to know people in CMG made me want to do it. And then I got to know people in CMG. And then I realized, fuck, I've just committed to making a deck about a bunch of people I now hate.
Oh, man. You know, I have to
I'm not talking about you, whoever's offended. I like you.
You're great.
You're one of the good ones. I met Kennedy here in CMG. So, you know, Ben's in CMG. Lots of people are in CMG. I love it's the other. It's not you. I love you.
It's those other ones.
Yeah, it's the other ones. You're great.
Yeah. Well, first off, I have to thank you because I stole your fucking fool art for Ben for his interview and I posted that.
You know what's funny is because when I've been off of that so long, and like the first thing I want to do when I got back onto that was kind of retouch some of that. So I was like, fuck, he beat me to it. So yeah, there's like a Ben version 2 coming. And
Sweet.
because some of like, Like, I feel good about the bend, but some of the background stuff, I'm like, oh, that's kind of thrown together. I could put a little more emotionless into that.
Well, I have to ask you, am I going to end up in it now?
Of course you're going to end up in it.
What am I going to be?
You're going to replace one of these assholes I hate now. Who's already on the list.
That's all I wanted to hear. Like, well, fuck it. You know, there's someone that I hate now. We'll get rid of them.
Oh, you want to hear something funny?
Obviously.
I almost don't want to speak of this because I feel like it's going to fucking stir drama that I don't want to.
We can edit it out if it's going to be that big of a problem.
Wanted to be in my deck as the tower. Enough said.
Motherfucker.
And I mean, if we're just on the subject of things that are controversial, like Billy Brujo and Molly Wright wanted to be in my deck back then, but now they want to be out of the public eye or something, and they signed away their likeness rights already for me to draw him in the bottom of the well like the goddamn
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs.
Well, you know what? That's a great segue into, because we already.
So I could do a lot of terrible things with the deck that I'm probably not going to do, because a lot of people are like, "Fuck yeah, I want to be in it," not realizing I would hate them later.
Oh fuck. Oh god, that's so great. Okay, all right.
Oh,
But I'm not going to do that. Don't come for me.
Okay, I gotta ask now though, because we had our minor rant about the problem of chaos magic in the beginning. Well, actually, fucking like halfway through it, but you know what I mean. And we just talked about the community a bit there.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, like, especially someone that's so involved in the online as a concept, right? You know, again, you know, you got into coding just by discovering what the internet was, essentially. You're like, well, fuck, I want to be a part of this.
Yes, before the interview, I was telling him about when I first saw the internet, I was like, I want to be the guy who makes the page, not the guy who reads the page.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you know, when you got into chaos magic, you've clearly integrated yourself in a way that most people would be fucking, you know, I mean, hell, fucking, I'm sitting here trying to do that sort of shit now, and it's a struggle, but
You know what? You were always doing that kind of shit,
Aw.
and you think you're starting now, and it's a struggle. Because you feel like you got to interview one of the cool kids, but I feel like I got to be interviewed by one of the cool kids.
See, this is why Matt is like the biggest influence on CMN people. I just want you to know that. Because he says shit like that, and I'm like, oh, my heart. I don't know how to deal with this. This is so wholesome.
I'm sorry I like you.
Oh, God. I'm sorry you like me, too. It's, you know, it's going to be a problem for you down the line, I'm sure.
Right. Wait till you find out about me.
No, but seriously, you know, just the online community of the occult.
Yes.
What...
Bastards.
Well, I mean, there you go. That's the answer to the fucking question.
It's like, what's the issue of the online? What's the issue of the online community of the occult? Right? Like, what's the problem
it's
with
like
it?
Why is it so fucking toxic and bad? Is it just because internet culture is naturally toxic and bad, or
do you think there's something specific to the occult community that is making it such a fucking abysmal place to be in?
Probably another multi-parter, but like, it's the same problems you see with every community. Like, the problems with the occult community are the same problems you see with the fucking fitness community or the whatever community, the breastfeeding community. Like, there's just toxic fucking people on the internet who feel free to be toxic because it's the internet.
Yeah, I can get that.
And then you throw into the mix, oh, well, this particular community, by the way, suffers from that. Plus, anything can be true. Literally validated in your shit beliefs. Yeah. Like, yeah. Well, anything is permitted, so listen to my racist diatribe.
oh fucking Christ.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Because I don't necessarily think that the Magick community has any particular issue with politics or racism that aren't inherent to any sort of online community.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
What we definitely have is an ethical problem. Like, people, I mean, fucking Christ, like people will do things and feel justified in it in a way in the magic community.
You know, that works both ways too, because on the dick side, they're using nothing is true, anything is permitted to push their shit agenda or believe their shit paradigm. But on the flip side, you got the moderators and the admins who should be deleting them, and they're like, well, I mean, it's his paradigm, so I don't want to step on his toes. So it's like from both sides, it sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, it emboldens people to do shitty fucking nonsense on the one side, and then it fucking lets the other side of it stagnate and say that I'm justified in not doing anything on the virtue of like, oh, well, this is someone's paradigm. I mean, I get it. You know, it's like, I don't think that the Jews are space aliens doing horrible fucking things, but he does. That's his paradigm. Who am I? I'm not going to yuck his yum on the Jews. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's
it's
fucking
chaos magic. He's supposed to have a dumb paradigm. So who am I to delete his awful post?
Right. Yeah. I mean, but I suppose on the other side, you know, just because we've already fucking mentioned the goddamn idiot here, like, you know, then you have people like fucking who feel justified in like going on a fucking moral crusade to delete a fucking Facebook group.
He'll be surprised how easy it is to make a new group.
Yeah, right.
That's like one button. Create group is the name of the button. If anyone out there doesn't know how to fix this after him and Vice team up to save the world.
Oh, fuck. Are we going to talk about the Vice article?
No.
Oh, God. Thank God.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, the only thing I'll say about that is that we have to give a shout out to the nameless co-host for making the most popular post in CMG in fucking, you know, years by just posting a fake Vice article with my name on it, and everyone
hilarious.
freaking out, going like,
Everyone was
"Oh
like,
my
where
God,
is it? I can't find the link to it. Where's the link? I can't find it." So many people thought that was real.
People who should have known better thought that was real. Like, I'm not going to name names, but like, there's some people that will probably end up in the interview series later that I'm going to have to pull aside and be like, yo, why'd you think that shit was real? Come on.
That's the problem with getting into any group too much.
Yeah.
Is because you then, I don't know, that it's going to be hard to explain what I just said, but like when you get up the ass of anything too much, it's easy to like, oh, well, I just saw it posted in CMG, so that's the article. You're living in that little bubble where, oh, well, it's true because I just saw it. Somebody just posted it. Boom. There it is.
There's a chaos magic solution for that too, right? You know, because I'll ask you this: have you ever been too stuck in a particular paradigm?
I mean, as a magician, or even 20/20 hindsight to before I did magic?
Well, yeah, either.
I don't know. I'm probably too stuck in psych, to be honest. I've been recently working very diligently and thoughtfully to try to go do spirit, and go do information, and go do the other, you know, just because psych works for everything so well.
Well,
It works for everything so well, they based chaos magic on it.
Yeah. I mean,
Because shifting paradigms is something you do in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And belief as a tool is something you do in psychology.
Well, it's, you know, that's sort of, anyone who's talked to me in the online community already knows my huge bag is bashing on Cartesianism, and you can't separate psychology as we know it today from Cartesianism, because the entire conception of the subject is Cartesianism, right?
Full disclosure, you're talking to someone who thinks Cartesianism is making maps.
Okay, well, where do I start here? No, okay, well, you know, Descartes, right?
Yeah.
So,
Descartes before the horse.
have you ever heard that joke?
I love
Okay,
that
thank God. The first time I heard that joke, I fucking went to my beloved and showed it to her and laughed hysterically, and she just looked at me and was like, who the fuck is Descartes? Like, what the fuck is this? Why is this so funny to you? And I was like, I can't explain it. Just know that this brings me joy. But the entire conception of the human being as subject, as, you know, this mind with internal representations, is like that's the entire basis for chaos magic, right? You know,
Oh, yeah.
there's this sort of internal thing that you're privy to, and then an external world that is affected by how the internal either represents it or conceptualizes it.
Have you ever read The Case Against Reality?
Oh,
It's so good.
it is. It's so fucking good. And I've been meaning to write something about that because someone gave that to me after I gave them a huge rant about Heidegger, obviously. And they're like, hey, you would probably enjoy this.
Just because of a character from Final Fantasy VII?
Yep, exactly. Just because of that. And like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, I get it. I liked Final Fantasy VII too, but you might learn something if you actually read a book.
This is our ongoing riff.
Yeah.
Every time he mentions Heidegger, I'm like, I don't know why you're so stuck on this Final Fantasy VII character. He wasn't even a major character.
The reason I think the psych model is so pervasive in chaos magic, aside from the fact that chaos magic has like a fundamental kind of basis in it, is just that, like you said, it can explain anything. It really can.
And it's the one that can't be disproven, too. Because no scientist is going to say psychology doesn't exist. They're used to dealing with, when they're ranting against paranormal, they're used to dealing with people who don't agree that it's all in their head. They don't know what to do with someone who agrees. Yes, it's all in my head. Also, it's why I have a gold-plated Ferrari.
Yeah, right.
It gets results, bitch.
In particular, people like Carl Jung get really like amped up, and people like Joseph Campbell and stuff in chaos magic, just because it gives you a really clear line between gods and demons and spooky spiritual stuff and psychology. And I think more than anything, that's the sort of thing that in chaos magic can really, really fuck you up, because you can get stuck in like you said, you can get stuck in like a paradigm where you can just explain away any sort of like symbolic thing with gods or deities, or you can even go with any religion and just explain it away by being like, oh, well, there's like a psychic reality and understanding here. But I think the problem with that really turns into when you start believing your own, and, you know, when you get too stuck in this paradigm of like,
Yes.
oh, I can just, you know, if I can come up with a psychological explanation for any of this.
You want to hear an unpopular opinion?
Go for it.
People get stuck in that shit because they say, I don't need to do a fucking journal. And then they have no idea if they're fucking getting results, or if their head is up their own ass so far that they think they're getting results. And because they haven't fucking graphed it. I have fucking peaks and valleys, bro.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
go actually look at the data of your results. Because there's very well-established science that says you're going to pay attention to one and not the other. You're not going to objectively think about yourself as this big failure. You're going to remember the one time it fucking worked.
Oh, man, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this. Have I ranted at you about Howard Bloom before?
Probably, but I just try to tune you out.
Okay, that's fair. That's what everyone else does. Okay, so Howard Bloom, really interesting guy. He was a how can I say this? He was a child prodigy, had a whole lot of fucking like, you know, stuff about, you know, his study of physics and various sciences and stuff, and then he dropped all of that to go hang out with the beatniks.
Oh.
And then he got into PR, and he was a PR guy for Michael Jackson and Prince and various other people. And then he got he developed chronic fatigue syndrome and ended up like bedridden for years. And while he was doing that, since he couldn't do anything else, he decided
It does not surprise me that Michael Jackson's PR guy got chronic fatigue syndrome.
Right, yeah.
You would need it if you were Michael Jackson's PR guy.
Right.
But he ended up writing you know, some books, and he eventually did kind of develop. You know, he doctors told him he was going to be bedridden for years, and being the very intelligent man that he is, he sort of found essentially like a cocktail of drugs and vitamins that gave him his life back to a certain point. Yeah. Again, great
Do
example.
drugs, kids.
Do
That's
drugs,
the
kids.
quote you can use.
If the
Besides, Ayn Rand was right.
If the doctors tell you that you're going to be bedridden for years, you tell them, "Fuck you! I'm going to take all these drugs. I'm going to be great." No, but he wrote a book in the '90s called The Lucifer Principle that I fucking absolutely love, despite having some weird political issues with it, because he's very critical of. Well, I mean, I'm very critical of Mao as well, but he's very critical of like socialism in general. He's one of those people that's very much like liberal democracy.
Why would you be critical of socialism?
I mean, there's plenty of reason to be critical of socialism. Like, let's be honest.
I mean,
More than anything.
I don't
But-
know.
But the point I'm getting at here is like he's one of those guys that thinks that like how can I say this? Like his idea was like, oh yeah, you know what fixes the world is like the protest communities. All those people protesting against Vietnam fix the world, and it's like clearly not, because we still fucking destroyed Vietnam and then lost the war anyway.
You're saying Vietnam wasn't a resounding success?
You know what? You're right. I'm so wrong here. But the point I was getting at was there's this whole section in actually I don't even remember if it was the Lucifer Principle or if it was Global Brain, but in one of his books where he talks about this woman who is she was in some field of psychology, but she basically wrote down all the moments in a year where she felt amazing, and then all of the moments in her life where she felt like complete fucking shit, and it was like everything was terrible and she fucking wanted to die and all that kind of nonsense.
Fuck yeah, journaling.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. And she went back and read it and realized that she only remembered the good moments.
Uh-huh.
All of the moments where she felt completely powerless in the world, and when she was stuck on the side of the road and no one would come fucking give her a tow. All the moments of all the little humiliations that just ruined her fucking day. She didn't remember any of them.
It's kind of the opposite of me in that regard.
Oh yeah, where you'll just like, I just remember every fucking moment. I remember walking into this apartment and being like, oh God, why did I come here?
Notice how you turn it upon yourself so quickly. I was thinking, like, when I look at my own art, all I see is the mistakes.
Oh,
And you're over here self-deprecating yourself when you're the best thing that happened to me today.
Oh God. See, this is why me and Matt work so well together, because we just sit here and amp each other up.
I pull him out of the fire.
He does. I mean, I could tell you some stories, folks, but we're not going to here because I'm not here to, publicly shame myself.
I don't know if that's possible. You're publicly awesome.
Publicly awesome.
That's how I got this interview. I just kiss his butt.
There you go, folks. If you want me to interview, I'll just come to your house and interview you if you just tell me I'm pretty.
Just tell him he's awesome. We'll do anything.
Man, okay. So, God, there's so much more I want to fucking talk to you about, too.
Just talk to me forever. I don't even sleep. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, I've noticed. Well, here's a thing that I wanted to talk to you about. If we want to define magic in a way, how would you personally go about that? Because you started this interview by being like, well, magic isn't just any fucking thing.
Right.
If you go and beat your kid, it's not magic.
Right.
So if you wanted to define magic, how would you have to do it?
Okay, first I'm going to rant about the thing again. Everything's not fucking magic. When I was 5, I didn't know what magic was, and I fell off my fucking swing set. Not fucking magic. Stop saying everything's magic. It's not fucking magic. You just read a meme about Crowley once, and everything's magic. Everything's not fucking magic. Stop saying that. The fucking state of the rest stop that I encountered on the way here, not magic. Not magic.
Was coming in here magic, though?
Coming in here was magic.
I know it was.
It was like...
I had the candles lit. I had the incense burning.
It was like having sex with a rainbow in the sky while flying on a unicorn.
Holy fuck. Okay, but
How would I define magic?
What is magic, then? Yeah.
Nobody knows. I think that's part of the beauty of chaos magic, is every other kind of magic says, this is magic. No, that's magic. No, this is magic. Oh, I fucking hate you because you think this is magic and that's magic. nobody knows what magic is. And if you say you know what magic is, you're probably trying to sell your book.
Oh,
Yeah. We had this conversation in the pod too, where it was like, anyone that can give you a solid answer about what magic is and how it works is just trying to sell you a goddamn book.
Like, I can tell you what magic is to me, but I hold this definition in my heart with the full knowledge that it's not objectively what magic is, like full stop, period to everyone. But there's